I był wątek, który teraz będziemy rozstrzygać. Kto to bezpieczeństwo powinien nam zapewnić? Rola państwa jest absolutnie bez żadnych dyskusji tutaj wiodącą. Pytanie, czy jedyną, dlatego że chwilę temu obaj panowie wspomnieli o partnerstwie publiczno-prywatnym, czyli o współpracy biznesu z państwem, tak aby takie bezpieczeństwo, także cyberbezpieczeństwo nam zapewnić. Więc pozwolą państwo na ten temat rozmawiać teraz będziemy. Housh i jego goście.
Nazywam się Housh. My name is Housh. I'm the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Poland, and it's my pleasure to moderate this panel. And thank you all for your patience. I know it's a busy day, so we're going to jump right in. We live in a war time, we live in a pandemic disruption time, and we live in a time of rapid technology and social change. Cybersecurity in this concept is a vital element, but of our national and collective security, but also for our business and how we drive toward prosperity. And so we have a lot to do with regard to cybersecurity, dealing with the issues not only of finance, growth, prosperity, but also looming issues of artificial intelligence and how that is managed. So major challenges ahead for all of us. But thankfully, we have four outstanding experts that are going to point the way forward. So let's just jump into this. You've just heard from one of them, Minister Janusz, Cieszyński, the Minister of Digital Affairs. Wojciech Pawlak, the Director of NASK, Poland. Marcin Olender, the Public Policy Director for Central Europe at Google. And Boris Andrijanic, the Vice President of Kumo Artificial Intelligence, Kumo.AI. So, mindful to keep things on track as much as we can time-wise. Minister, I know you've been working hard and you just finished one presentation, but with the reestablishment of the Ministry of Digital Affairs, what do you see as your priorities for building the needed robust public-private partnership to deal with cybersecurity issues?
Well, I think, first of all, and I think there's a wide agreement on this in Europe and throughout the world, I think we need to accept the fact that the tech companies that serve us with services that we use every day have to take an even larger responsibility for the effects of them being used. And we have been very active in cooperating with private market actors, and we understand that the state itself, it will never win the war against cybercrime. But if we have good support and good cooperation, then it will be, I think we can make dramatic changes. I think that if you look at even the basic tools, ones that are available even now, if we could just, up the uptake of these by 10, 20 percentage points, that would be a huge success. In my previous intervention, I was talking about our cooperation with Google, where we were able to launch together a campaign about what you should do to be more secure online. Simple things, two-factor authentication. I talked with experts from my team, and they were like, well, we should go one step further. We should go to pass keys, things which are more advanced, physical two-factor authentication tools. But then the advice we're giving, it's super practical, and we have to be better at understanding what the world of business can offer us, and just, take whatever we can, because it's the general public that we have to serve using these tools. We will never be able to provide cybersecurity on our own, but we have proven with numerous regulations that we have implemented in recent months that we can really up the ante when it comes to the protection that global tech giants can provide to their customers.
Well, thank you. I think that is a critical message. So to first make sure we use the tools we have available and then think about what new tools are on the horizon. So Director Pawlak, CERT is a critical national security asset. And I know that there is a pretty high level of cooperation between the private sector and your CERT team and CERT Narodowe. So, how do you build on this partnership working with your private sector partners?
Okay, indeed. CERT Polska is the oldest computer emergency response team in Poland, and its role is recognized in the Act of National Security System. And of course, it is obvious that good cooperation, knowledge exchange between private and public sector is critical for the cybersecurity in Poland and everywhere. And in fact, in daily practice, daily practice, we cooperate with private companies. These are producer of software, hardware, digital companies. This is where signals about threats come from. So this is if we get these signals, we can respond properly and quickly and develop the messages for general public. More than that, a lot of private companies is a part of our constituency, the field we operate under law. So we build real cooperation with these companies. For instance, this partnership for cybersecurity or system S46, which is the platform for exchanging information about threats. Thinking about future cooperation, I think there are three reasons for them this cooperation will be even much more critical. One is scale. The number of threats is rising rapidly. Mr. Cieszyński and Sebastian were presenting the numbers. They grow exponentially almost. The second is disruption, technology. Everywhere today in the world, the headlines are dominated by AI, by ChatGPT, and these are technologies that can make the new threats more accessible. And last but not least, I think, the new regulations. Under the implementation NIS2 directive, I think the reporting obligation for private companies will be stronger. So this is the field for our cooperation. Thank you.
Well, I think that you mentioned, everyone's talking about AI, everyone's talking about chat and all these sort of things. But among other issues, I wanted to ask Marcin, from your perch at Google, very heavily involved in the cloud and the security that brings, and many others. But how does that fit in, among other things, in being able to cooperate with the public sector?
Thank you, Tony. Well, the cloud, obviously, can I quickly just agree with everything that both Minister and Director Pawlak said before, and I'm very happy that we do work on the project that was mentioned, and also we cooperate with CERT and on other fields. So I don't think there's any debate, or can be any debate, whether we should work together to achieve a higher level of cybersecurity. I'm not, pretending that we can eradicate cybercrime. That's impossible, but at least keep it to a reasonable level, and we need to work together. So this is absolutely beyond any question. As far as cloud goes, we are, and I think it's backed up by evidence that cloud technologies are inherently just safer by design, because they are centralized and they offer a high level of resilience. And we offer the same kind of infrastructure that we use ourselves to customers, including government customers. And I think we stand by this extremely high level of protection that it offers. Obviously, there are challenges there, including sensitivities around sovereignty and placing sensitive kinds of data on cloud that is not government owned, obviously, and we recognize that. But I think there is an area of cooperation that is possible, and that would be very beneficial. Besides, of course, the things that were mentioned here, like education and intelligence sharing, that is extremely important. But also use of some of our technologies that exist, including the cloud. I think that will benefit both sides of the equation. In the end, we will all benefit from a safer internet. It will be both a favorable place to do business, but also keeping citizens online safe is just in everybody's best interest.
Well, I think that's also one of the things that we as business also have to keep in mind, that ultimately, as we implement technologies and things, ultimately it's about serving our customers, who are our fellow citizens, and not get too wrapped up in the technology without thinking about ultimately who we are trying to keep safe. Mark, if I may, you've been on the ministerial side of things in digital affairs, and now you're on the AI side of things. And what do you see? I mean, what is this game changer, and how does that play? I mean, what is that role that AI and companies such as yours are going to play in this public-private partnership to make sure that AI is a force for good?
Thanks so much for a great question. Let me first congratulate Poland for re-establishing the digital ministry, and also congrats to you, Janusz. I think you're absolutely the right person for the job. When I was establishing digital ministry in Slovenia, cybersecurity was top of my mind. And that happened way before the war in Ukraine even began. We pushed this cybersecurity agenda also during our EU presidency and achieved some notable successes with NIS2 directive. Now, there are two game changers, Tony, not just one. I already mentioned the war in Ukraine, which has accelerated both the capabilities and vulnerabilities at the same time. And the second game changer is obviously AI. AI, as we all know, shapes the way we live, the way we work, the way we shop, the way we communicate, and also the way we fight each other, or let's be more precise, how countries fight each other, which means that the AI attacks can be today much more impactful than they were at any times before. And I'm talking about phishing, I'm talking about social engineering and malware that use AI to look a lot more legitimate when you're interacting with them, and to obviously detect vulnerabilities in our system much faster and accurately than before. So I would say it's a race to the bottom. At the same time, obviously, we are improving our cyber defenses using AI technologies. We are much better at detecting them, at fighting them, at analyzing malware, figuring out where it came from, figuring out what are the behavioral patterns that help us detect some of the malicious attacks out there. So I think we're in the beginning of a very interesting race that's going to be, in a way, race to the bottom or race to the top, no matter how you call it. I think the important thing is, first, to improve our collaboration between private and public sector, and here I couldn't agree more with everything that's been said. Second, we need to understand that the private sector is both the most vulnerable and the strongest in this game. The strongest because of huge players like Google and others, but the most vulnerable because of SMEs that simply don't have the resources to put up proper cyber defenses. And we need to help them as governments and as other members of the private sector. And lastly, I think we need to learn from Ukraine. Ukraine has done incredible progress in terms of cybersecurity. Of course, this war wasn't anything new to them. They were targeted by Russian cyber criminals for many years. And what they've managed to achieve in just a couple of years is something that provides a valuable lesson to all of us.
I think, Mark, your point very much so is that the two R words we've heard a great deal about with much more relevance now, resiliency and redundancy in systems to both keep public functionality going in difficult times, and Ukraine has shown an extraordinary resilience. But I think it's also the importance, too, of, I think, figuring out how do we manage and utilize and harness AI to make ourselves safer and keep the bad actors at bay. With our remaining couple of minutes, I want to ask each of us to throw out a thought. A year from now, Impact will be happening again next May. What do you think, Mark, I'll start with you because the minister always gets the last word, and you're no longer a minister, so I get to start back with you. A year from now,
I'm enjoying my retirement.
Hours are shorter, I'm sure. I think the minister can attest to that. But over the coming year, what would you say to everyone out here that's in business, that's in technology, that's in just civil society? What should we look out for? What do you think is, for instance, in the AI side, what's a game changer coming your way? And I just ask each of you to say, what do you look out for and either hope for or fear in the coming year?
Okay, so we all know ChatGPT, and it's a great tool, and it makes me sad for not being born a lot later, because it's tremendously helpful for our school kids. Now, I would say The game changer will be how we integrate these kind of tools into our productivity and other tools. And that will tremendously make our businesses and lives easier. So this is just the beginning. Second thing, it's talent. We need to invest in talent when it comes to data scientists, when it comes to AI experts, when it comes to cybersecurity specialists. So all the companies out there should do that to a much larger extent they're doing now.
Super, thank you. Marcin?
Well, you mentioned SMEs. I hope next year we'll see a major uptick in their adoption of cloud technologies. I think that's the easiest way they can improve their resilience, because as you said, they don't have the resources to provide, highest level of in-house security. I think using external cloud services is a good way to go. And just maybe additionally, I hope we're going to see an even bigger adoption of two-factor authentication. Maybe everyone in Poland should get hardware keys by next year. What do you think?
We just bought 20,000 of them, just delivered, I think, this week, so good shot.
So, Director, what hopes and fears in the coming year?
Okay, the famous sociobiologist Edward O. Wilson described once the problem with humanity. He said that we have Paleolithic primitive emotions, medieval institutions, and good-like technology. I know that a year ahead the technology will be even better. Emotions are emotions, but I would like to stress the importance of institutions. I believe that we have to build strong cooperative institutions, and I also believe that NASK will be on this track to make cybersecurity systems stronger in Poland.
Thank you. And Minister, your hopes and ambitions that we're going to be talking about when we sit on this stage next May?
First and foremost, I hope to be on the stage. Jokes aside, I think, I'm not a very complicated man. I think if in 1 year's time we will have more of those things that we know of right now implemented. I want to say two-factor authentication myself, but Marcin stole that line from me. But hey, how many of you have a password which is at least 14 characters or longer? How many of you use a password manager? How many of you have a hardware key? How many of you have this filter on the screen of your smartphone which doesn't let the person next to you see what you're looking at? I'm not sure it's 100%. I want that percentage to rise. I want it to rise not only among people that have the time and curiosity to come to impact. I want it to be something which goes throughout the whole society in Poland, but also in all other countries in the world. I think these are super simple baby steps that each one of us can make. And if we talk about resilience, resilience is in the masses. It's in every one of us. And we have learned on many, many occasions that huge failures come from very simple to avoid weak point that we all knew we could have avoided, but we just didn't. And I wish for us to have as little of those weak links within the ecosystems that we function in. Civil society, business, government, everyone.
Well, I think your point is well taken that spending a lot of time in the defense sector, single point of failure is often the weak point in any system. So we need to be mindful of doing everything we can to make sure that doesn't occur. But I hope next year we'll be reporting on an ever deepening and widening public-private partnership in cybersecurity, and I'm quite confident we can make that happen. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking our guests today for sharing their wisdom and their time. Thank you all for coming.